peak, Blue Sky Studios was competing at the highest level of the animation industry.
Every Ice Age has a great message. And I think that's what people love.
20th Century Fox in Rio 2 has set a new Guinness World Records record.
It's kind of timeless.
A company with a billion-dollar franchise and multiple modern classics under their belt, it didn't seem like they could
I hated
fail,
that
but
movie,
through
bro.
a mix of greed, creative stagnation, and bad luck, the studio had been quietly steering itself toward collapse. Before any of their animated films hit theaters, Blue Sky was known mostly as a behind-the-scenes studio. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, they built their reputation doing visual effects for commercials, everything from M&M's to award-winning razor ads. Their work caught the attention of 20th Century Fox, who bought the studio in 1997 and put them to work on movies like Alien Resurrection, Fight Club, and even an Oscar-winning short called Bunny. But as the decade came to a close, the VFX industry was hurting, and Fox was ready to cut Blue Sky loose. With constant talk of a sell-off looming, the studio knew they needed something big. But Fox producer Laurie Forte had been developing an idea about a story set in a time period that hadn't been explored in a big-budget family movie. And while it was a relatively new medium at the time, she felt that CGI animation was the best way to tell this story. She brought the idea to Blue Sky and teamed up with animation executive Chris Meledandri, and in the year 2000 they pitched Fox a rough draft of what would become Ice Age.
Hi, I'm Ray Romano, and I'm here in the frozen tundra to give you a first look at the new movie Ice Age.
By that point, only 9 fully computer animated feature films had ever been released, but still the competition.
Chat, I hated Bugs Life, bro. That's like the worst movie ever made, bro. Who in their mind would ever think like, how about let's do a movie about bugs? How about freaking ants? They gotta pick bees, caterpillars, wasps, but no. Ants. Let's make it about, like, what? Like, chat, this is like the worst movie ever made, bro. Worst movie ever made, bro. Like, comment down below. Is this the worst movie ever made? Like, that's what I think, bro.
Was strong. Following titles like Toy Story, Shrek, and Monsters Inc. wasn't gonna be an easy feat. And on top of that, the story revolved around extinct animals most people didn't even recognize. They wanted their characters to feel accurate, but not too menacing. Minnie and Diego had to look intimidating, but still have softer sides. They were pretty accurate to their real-life counterparts, but Sid is where the studio took a lot of creative freedom. His design was based on a combination of the extinct giant ground sloth and the modern tree sloth, though he wasn't exactly either of those. Scrat was a completely made-up creature, and for the rest of the cast, they gravitated towards the weirdest animals they could find from that time period. To match the strange world Blue Sky was creating, they wanted a cast made up of mostly comedians, bringing in names like Ray Romano, Jack Black, and Cedric the Entertainer. The studio gave them a lot of freedom in how their characters would act and sound.
Low key, that was the best idea they could ever do. Like, bringing comedians. So that means everybody finna be watching and be like, everybody in their mouth finna be giggling. Be like, that's the funniest thing I ever seen. Like, everyone in their mouth finna be giggling at that, bro. So, like, that's like the best idea they could ever come up with. Like,
30 voices of possible Sid choices. You know, I did the low voices.
Some promises are no big deal, believe me. I know.
The high voices.
I promised my first girlfriend we'd mate for life.
Looney Tune voices.
I promised my first girlfriend we'd mate for life.
They had a clear visual blueprint, nearly 2 decades of animation experience, and a cast of skilled comedians, and everything came together.
Yo.
Ice Age released on March 15th, 2002, and it was a colossal success in every way. Not only did audiences find it charming and genuinely funny, but it felt completely fresh. Made on a budget of about $60 million, the movie went on to gross over $380.
Whoa! Man, oh man, that's a lot of money! 38. What? 383.257136. What? Yo, if I knew I could make that much money, bro, I'm gonna start an animated studio soon, chat. Y'all wanna see JordanTimes animation, bro? Like, drop, bro. Like, y'all finna be making millions, bro. Like, at that point, what?
Box office. It didn't take itself too seriously, but it was surprisingly mature in its humor and tone. The emotional moments
That
hit
Pocahontas?
just as hard as the jokes, earning praise from critics and families alike for its heartwarming story. Roger Ebert awarded the film 3 out of 4 stars.
I like the look of this movie, the way the drawings and the artistic approach gave it kind of a three-dimensional color and warmth to this world. And I also love the dialogue. I love the wit of the dialogue.
Fox had taken a gamble on Blue Sky, but greenlighting their feature-length film couldn't have been a better decision. Ice Age was an instant classic. It was safe to say Blue Sky Studios had struck gold. But while Ice Age was still in development, the concept for their next film was already taking shape. Behind the scenes, Chris Wedge had an early idea for a world inhabited by robots. There wasn't a story or structure to it yet, he simply liked the concept. After the success of Ice Age though, the studio knew this would be their next project, and that robotic world began to take form. Robots was their second movie, and Blue Sky had to prove they weren't a one-trick pony. It was a robot society with characters built to reflect their social class. Lower class robots were made to look as if they were constructed from older industrial parts and scrap machinery, while upper class robots were designed with sleek, modern, high-end technology in mind. They drew most of their inspiration from music.
Low-key, I've never watched that robot. Like, I've only seen like parts of it, but I've never really watched it, like sat down and watched it. So, like, chat, if this video gets about 10 likes, I'll watch the robot movie. Cause like I need to see it, bro. Cause like I haven't seen a lot of movies in my childhood and shit, so I really need to see that, bro.
Museums and junkyards looking for old vehicle parts and appliances that could fit this vision. Having a larger budget this time, Blue Sky brought in talents like Robin Williams, Ewan McGregor, and Halle Berry. After more than 3 years of development, Robots released in March of 2005, and it was another success. While it didn't quite reach the heights of Ice Age in ratings or at the box office, it still managed to gross $262 million.
Boy, ain't that a lot of money? Ain't that a lot of money? 2.263 million. Boy, I could buy a whole mansion, bro. I could buy a whole street, bro. I could buy a whole neighborhood. Like, imagine the things I could do with that much money, bro. Nah. They lucky ain't me, bro. Like, I would've swindled all that, bro.
Week. At the very least, they did what they set out to do. Create an interesting world with a unique aesthetic and turn a profit. Blue Sky was cementing itself as a fierce competitor in the animation industry. The following year came Ice Age 2.
Everything is melting.
Given the demand, a follow-up to their breakout hit was the obvious next step, and it delivered almost everything they could have wanted. Ice Age The Meltdown built upon the original cast of characters and introduced new ones, who would become permanent members in the years to come. Characters like Ellie serving as both a love interest and proof that Manny wasn't the last mammoth.
But he's still lonely, you know? Still sad that he's the only mammoth left on the planet.
Until...
He's a little horny, I guess.
Yo, there's little kids watching this. How many Ice Age movies are there? Like, what are they talking about? The years to come. How many years, bruv? How many years are we talking? Like, what? I thought there was only like 5, like 3. Actually, no. I thought there was 2 Ice Age movies. And you're telling me there's more, bro? Nah, that can't be true. That can't be true.
Mischievous Possums, Crash, and Eddie, who were mostly comic relief. The movie went on to earn $660 million.
What? 6660.994444784? Nah, we gotta be joking, bro. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of paper. Chat, no, maybe I should start doing this. Maybe I should become I'm like, yeah, that's too much, bro. That's too much.
$1 million at the box office, making it the 3rd highest grossing film of 2006. It beat out animated titles like Cars, Happy Feet, Over the Hedge, and Open Season by a pretty large margin too. There was even a video game released alongside it. But while Ice Age 2 was a huge commercial hit, it wasn't received as well as the original. Critics felt it had a thinner, more formulaic plot, an over-reliance on crude jokes and pop culture references, and that many of the new characters had little to offer beyond being played for laughs. While some considered it an improvement, many felt it lacked much of the charm and cleverness that made the first movie so memorable.
Where the first Ice Age had some charm and some cuteness to it, and even made you feel a little bit endeared to the characters, This film absolutely falls flat from the get-go.
Beyond that, it shined a light on something for Blue Sky and 20th Century Fox. This made it clear that Ice Age wasn't just a one-off smash hit. It was a gold mine that could be milked for years. Sometime after The Meltdown left theaters, Chris Meledandri left the company. He had been the president of 20th Century Fox Animation and served as an executive producer for Blue Sky since Ice Age 1. But in 2007, he went on to found his own studio, Illumination, and began production for Despicable Me. He played an important role for Blue Sky early on, but the studio was ready to show that their success didn't depend on any one person. Over the next few years, they'd put out movies like Horton Hears a Who, which made almost $300 million and was reviewed very well. Up to this point, they had only worked on original material, but they brought this beloved story to life, casting Jim Carrey, Steve Carell, Carol Burnett, and other big names. To this day, it's often considered one of the best Dr. Seuss adaptations among critics and fans. Then came Ice Age 3, Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
Nobody move a muscle.
This was their biggest hit yet. The movie grossed an astounding $886 million.
What? Oh my god, yo, you know what? I'm gonna make my own animation studio. Like, yeah, I need that money, bro.
And the movie's in the top 100 highest grossing films of all time. Once again, it introduced new fan favorite characters like Buck. However, most of the problems that plagued the second movie were even more present in Ice Age 3. More slapstick humor, more pop culture references, and a tired message about family that felt like it was recycled from the previous films.
No, do you like what the movie says about the idea of the extended family?
That's always been
cool
my,
message.
that's actually, you know, been my favorite, you know, kind of theme through the whole thing. That was the thing that struck me most in the last film, was like, this is really all about a family.
But clearly, none of these issues really mattered all that much. It seemed like nothing could stop the juggernaut that Ice Age was becoming. But that wasn't even going to be their only successful franchise, because 2 years later, they went on to release Rio. Rio not only introduced a vibrant new world and a cast of characters for audiences to fall in love with, it also soared to the #1 spot.
Yes, my girl!
With a strong message and contagious energy, the film quickly won over viewers. It easily secured its place as one of Blue Sky's finest achievements, and the streak didn't stop there. In 2012, Ice Age 4 Continental Drift dropped into theaters with a bang. It made $877 million, just slightly below Ice Age 3. But while the box office didn't seem to take much of a hit, something had definitely changed this time around. While Ice Age 3 was a big step down from the first two, by this point it felt like the series had completely abandoned any kind of substance. Stacking the cast with celebrities like
Drake! Cast me in the next one, bro. Cast me in the next one. We got Drake, Nicki Minaj. Cast me in the next one, bro. I'm the biggest streamer in the world. I should play an actor too, bro.
Nicki Minaj made Continental Drift feel like the biggest cash grab yet.
If I manage to get an action figure out of this whole deal, I think that I'm gonna like attach it as like a pendant on a chain.
They worked as fun adventure movies, but after this film, many longtime fans were beginning to lose interest. However, Blue Sky took note of this and decided to take a break from doing Ice Age films. In the next 4 years, they'd put out Epic, which was one of their weaker films commercially, but still managed to turn a profit. Rio 2, which was a drop in quality from the first one, but performed even better. And the Peanuts movie, which wasn't Blue Sky's biggest, but many consider it one of their best. It was a heartwarming, faithful adaptation that reminded audiences what Blue Sky was capable of. But like all blockbuster franchises, Ice Age wasn't going to be allowed to die quietly, and in 2016, the 5th movie arrived in theaters.
We're losing the plot. We're losing the plot. This is a movie about the Ice Age. Why are we in space? Who's funding these space trips, dude? Like, no, actually, this is not Ice Age anymore. It's just like Space Age. Because, like, what does this have to do with space? This is about like Ice Age back in the day. The dinosaurs used to like shake ass, like some shit. But why are we showing movies about space and Ice Age? Be so for real. This ain't real. This ain't real. This is fake. You can't tell me otherwise.
Surprisingly, Collision Course did nothing to reinvent the franchise. It was the same characters, the same jokes, and the same stale formula, just with new set pieces. Please, let this 5th Ice Age film be the last. What an unfunny mess this has become.
And for Blue Sky Studio, who just took 3 steps forward with the solid Peanuts movie, like that movie was really good, and I had hope for their future to take 5,000 steps back!
With how big this series was, of course, people still went to see it. But considering it earned less than half of what the previous film did, it was clear that audiences had grown tired of the franchise. Not even the actors sounded excited while promoting it.
So it's very exciting to be able to get into his furry skin again.
The best thing about Blue Sky,
I like this guy's voice,
is we're making funny movies.
This would be the last Ice Age movie from Blue Sky. The studio was slowly dwindling. After Ice Age 5, they put out Ferdinand, another adaptation of a classic story that received passable reviews and made a solid profit at the box office.
It's not that
On
bad.
paper, if Blue Sky kept doing the bare minimum and making their money back with each film, they potentially could have kept going. They were on a hot streak for nearly a decade before things began to slow down, and maybe they could have found their way back to what made their film stand out in the first place. But in March of 2019, things took a turn for the worse. Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, effectively bringing Blue Sky Studios under its control. Few companies had the power to challenge Disney, and considering Blue Sky wasn't even the parent company, there wasn't much they could do. They officially became a unit of Walt Disney Studios. By this point, Blue Sky was already deep into production on a film starring Will Smith and Tom Holland, slated for release later that year. It ultimately arrived after the Disney acquisition. Spies in Disguise became both a new beginning and an unexpected end for Blue Sky. On one hand, the movie ended up being one of their highest rated films to date. Many praised it for having great humor and a genuinely heartfelt message. It was some of their best work since their very first title in 2002. But on the other hand, it was unfortunately their worst box office performance yet, earning $171 million.
If that's bad,
Under
kill
Fox,
me already!
It might have been a minor setback. But with Disney, which measures everything in dollars, the timing couldn't have been worse. Spies in Disguise would be the first and last Blue Sky movie under Disney. On February 9th, 2021, Disney announced that it was shutting down Blue Sky Studios in April of that year. According to the company, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic's continued economic impact on all of its businesses, it was no longer sustainable for them to run a third animation studio. Blue Sky had been working on another adaptation under Disney, but that was cancelled as a result. By June 2021, Blue Sky co-founder, director of the first Ice Age, and the voice of Scrat, Chris Wedge, posted an official farewell letter. For the past 34 years, we, like our single-minded character Scrat, have reached for something that at times seemed unattainable. Yet time after time, we've managed to get our arms around our own versions of that elusive acorn. Disney retained all of Blue Sky's film library and intellectual properties, which they quickly took advantage of. in the
Disney,
form
bro.
of The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, a spin-off film that released on Disney Plus in 2022. While fans wondered if Disney could breathe new life into Ice Age, it became evident that they might mishandle the franchise just as badly or worse. And they already have a 6th film in the works titled Boiling Point. In some ways, Blue Sky was a victim of their own success. Having a powerhouse like Ice Age, what company wouldn't milk it for everything it's worth? But being forced to stretch out one series that was long past its expiration date definitely took a toll on their creativity. A combination of that, Disney's greed, and losing some of their big names all played a role in Blue Sky's decline. Meanwhile, Chris Meledandri is still leading Illumination, a company that continues to thrive commercially. The last official Blue Sky Sky production was a short series they had been working on in the lead up to the studio's closure. It dropped on April 13th, 2022, and on that same day, a video was uploaded to an unlisted YouTube channel titled The End. One final piece of animation was created by a small Blue Sky team during the studio's last days. A 30-second video that showed Scrat finally catching the acorn he had chased since the very beginning.
So inspiring, chat! No! Chat, this shit was crazy, bro. W.I. Spice, bro. W.I. Spice. JordanTimes out, bro.